So you can see how each direction invites something else to be a part of to participate. And so the entirety of the entire spine, the entire torso can become engaged in different ways, so that there's a neurological flexibility and availability within the whole system. But even, how many of you found that even when you put the heavy weight of your knees and your feet together, that you still found on one side, you still made the first arching movement before you would actually, yeah, you know, you would think, obviously, you would think that if you have all this weight together, the only way that you're going to do that is to bring all this roundness together, isn't it? That would, you would think from the simplest point of view, that would be, it's not going to make sense for me to go here to bring my weight up, isn't it? What's going to happen to the weight of my legs? It's going to be harder than hell. It's going to be the same situation as the hockey player with the torn hip, isn't it? I've gone here and now I'm going to pull my legs up against this tone. Yeah. So I have to overcome that tone if I'm going to meet the criterion, but I have this tone. And then I'm trying to do two things at once, aren't I? As opposed to actually making the movement so that I can make the movement from one side to the other. Okay, so that's, I think that was in the lesson. The idea is to create the purity of the movement to go to one side and the other, but I don't think it takes place. Yeah, I think we still end up overriding the process. And as practitioners, of course, unless we see that and understand it, then our ability to not only teach the lesson, but if I'm going to give a lesson, I have to be able to see when the person makes this engagement. If I'm not in that place, otherwise I think I'm applying a lesson to a person. Yeah? So that we can do these things very specifically. All right. Now, we're going to play with something a little bit different because I want to go in the theme of what we've been doing. Yeah? But let's look at something. So let's have, I don't care, someone that hasn't been up here want to be here. You've been up here though, yeah? Yeah, let's lift her. Yeah. And roll into your stomach. All right, so again, place both hands in a standing position now for a moment. Yeah. And draw one knee up. That's right, beautiful. Now, when she drew this knee up, we can see that she drew this knee up in such a way that as she makes this movement here, that her low back began to engage. And so if I place a pressure here into her knee so she can't move, and I ask her to lift her head, you can see that she begins to have the ability to make this movement in such a way that this will make it so that her head lifts up and back. If I come here and I place under the first metatarsal head a little bit of a pressure, just so that she's tied to the floor a little bit. So I give her, like if she was rock climbing, I give her the rock that she's climbing on. And I asked her from this point to start to push upwards. You can see that her head immediately begins to go up, and in what direction? Her head lengthens, and it goes up, and you can see the space between her, so her head actually goes up and begins to come back immediately. Yes? Great. Yeah, right. Something happens because that part of your back begins to, the engagement of your back makes it so that the front of yourself can open. Okay, so leave this for a moment, and let's see if we can understand even the ATM that we just did. Why Moshe, if you watch him teaching, you'll see that he tends to teach the flexion lessons before he teaches the lessons for extension. How come? Yeah, that's good enough. So the primitive process of flexion, yeah. So generally though, in the terms of the way that people maintain their posture, in the general population, people are rounded in some kind of way. Either they're overextended or they're rounded in general. So the population of people that are rounded, the musculature of their back is engaged, isn't it? I'm using my back to keep me from falling. Yeah. Now, if the musculature is engaged, it's not going to decontract because it's already tonified to hold me. Yeah. So how does Moshe bring about the possibility? That's right. This whole thing of bringing the flexors, round, round, round until the musculature in the back decontracts to the point that it becomes long. And as it becomes long, it's at that point that it can do its full work. A muscle that's partially engaged is more difficult to make a lift than if you have the whole range of motion to lift. Now we have a little moment of laxity, so if we're just slightly short of it, because if we go to the whole end, then there's a moment of laxity before the muscle will actually engage. That's another difficulty. So now let's see so here we have this situation where she makes the movement and she's come here and she's ready to push and through. So up she goes and up she goes and up comes her head, and you can see that she's finding a place on her abdomen where she can make that movement, okay? So now, let's watch what she does on the other side. So you bring your knee up. Now, we give her this point of purchase to push. Watch what her head did at first. Where did her head go? Downwards. She's looking downwards, and you can see the space between her shoulder blades. Is it ready to engage? No. Is it? No, it's not ready to engage, is it? Right. She's really, really in a good position that if she wanted to, from here, that she could make this movement. If we brought her knees into this position, then she could really have that movement would be really happy for her. Look, there's all the power in the back, the flexion in front, the power in the back to be able to make that movement easily. Let's see what she does when she goes to the other side. There it is. There it is. Yeah, her pulling her head opposite, right? Well, but she can make it for the moment. Watch. Yeah. And then go to the other side. Yeah. Okay. So now, just for our fun, you can see we could spend days here in functional integration, couldn't we? I mean, you start to think of this in terms of functional movements and helping the person make it so that they can go one way and the other, they can roll themselves, they can turn themselves. Oh, beautiful. She made a change. She felt for herself the ability to actually tilt her pelvis at this point in time. And now as she tilts her pelvis down, her knees can come up and then her head doesn't have to lag. Yeah? Okay, beautiful. But to go along with our theme of lifting ourselves away from the ground for a moment, yeah, we did this whole lesson with the flexors because I wanted you to see the variations as to how Moshe put in the variations into these lessons. But now let's go to make this movement to the other side. And we can see that when she starts to push up, that she wants to go down. That's right, down. Okay, so let's make the movement on the side that she does easily. And so that she could lift and push herself up. That's right. If you want to come up onto your elbow, you can do that. That's right. If you want to do that, that's right. Now, stay there. Begin to push this leg away. That's right. Push this leg away. Begin to draw this leg up. Watch your head fall. Watch your head. Watch your head. Watch your head. Yeah? Okay, your job functionally with each other is to help the person find the support that as they go across, they can keep their head up. And now push yourself up. So your head push, go forward. That's right. So that movement leads to being up on one side and being up on the other side, and being up on this. So that movement, now let's watch, come back down. And she makes this movement, and let's watch. She makes this movement. Yes. Can she now make this movement of driving herself? Aha. And she make the movement of actually driving herself in such a way that as she makes this movement to drive, this driving movement is going to be what? It's going to be the same movement that we've been making. Her pelvis is going to go, that's it. I can make her lift her head, I can lower her head. I can lift her head, I can lower her head. Yes? This relationship of her heels. Lifting. Oh, that's okay. That's it. Now, if we slide this up, that's it. You see how this begins to go into her. Can you watch and can you think of what would have to take place in this, that as this comes into her, go up, push. That's right. What is she going to have to do in the way that she turns? Is she going to turn her heel away from the ground, or is she going to turn her heel into the ground? It's going to turn into the ground until she reaches a point. Okay, so the idea, does this make sense? Yes, no? So the idea is to help the person come to the place where on each side they find the support, they find this. Can you see this now? What's going to have to happen if she's going to go up? Where's that going to turn? How is she going to make go? How's that going to turn? She's going to turn that way. She's not going to turn that way. Go forward. That's right. Go forward again. That's right. Go forward again. That's right. It's nice for Marines. Show the crawling that you were just doing, where you did like the alligator crawl a moment ago. Right. Yeah. So he's, and you can see how much that's arm related. Yeah. Right. All right. So when we really grasp this, again, this is the question of how this drives me and how this drives me, as opposed to how this, no drive. Where's the purchase? Where's the purchase? Where's the purchase? Where's the purchase? That this whole movement keeps driving me up and through myself. For what reason? So that when I stand, I know how to lift myself between my shoulder blades. Yeah? I know how to tonify the movement, so I'm lifting all the way through my shoulder blades. Okay? So there's 20 minutes for, is this confusing? It's okay. It seems like we're just kind of, it's the end of the week. Yeah. Huh? Just have a crack at it. Just, again, you've looked at this question of how the leg goes. Wait, just 1 second. All we've done is change the orientation. All we've done is change the orientation. Here's the orientation here. I'm on my back. I'm making this movement as if I'm going to be in the position where I'm going to lift myself. Yeah? So where am I going to be if I'm going to lift myself? Am I going to go there? Am I going to go there? Yeah? How's that movement? How's that movement how's that movement going to take me through? I've just changed the orientation. I'm teaching a person how to help them find the means to be upright for their walking, their running, whatever it is that they want to do, from any position. Breakdancing. And that we see for me, I think it's important that you see everything from every orientation. Yeah? Okay. Just go play for a few moments. You can work in pairs or work in groups. Babies will do this. They'll sit here all day long. They'll come here, they'll come here, they'll look around, they'll do this, put their foot, put their knee, right? Have their foot here. Yeah. Now, when I want to initiate the movement to go up, am I going to go like that? That's a different stage in crawling. But this movement is going to take place in the way that I come away from my knee. Now, take a right leg. Do you have a right leg? Someone put the right leg. Someone put the right leg. Someone sit behind. Whoever it is, that's right. So that you can watch to see. Yeah, so more or less, what direction does the femoral head move if I'm going to do that? Is it going to turn that way? Or is it going to turn up and, that was perfect. You goosed me right where I want to go. Now, it's not exactly where the femoral head is. The femoral head is right under here, right? So if I pay attention to what I do with the femoral head, yeah, there's no way in the world that I'm going to go up right? So if I made this movement and I'm out here, it's going to be very much more difficult for me to go up, isn't it? Right? Look where my head is. It's there for a reason. When does my head start to lift? When I change the point of contact. Then the question becomes, how do I use the contact? This movement is the movement that we've played with all 2 weeks. Yeah? And it's, again, for homolateral crawling, which you'll see a baby do. Yeah, it's a while before the baby goes here, and then comes here, and then comes here, right? But now where's the purchase? I'm off that same point. And the baby does it more or less with their head on the horizon. So they must have the ability to find the purchase one side to the other. We're just playing with, how do we make the movement here in such a way that I more or less find the support throughout the movement. Okay? Are you guys ready for this process of being a Feldenkrais practitioner? This ongoing, yes. These ongoing, and it's not a challenge, it's an ask. The kinds of questions to investigate these lessons so that they become so much in hand, yeah, that when you go to practice, you're living this. Yeah. Yeah. But what she just did, again, is in my practice. When I can't see it, I put the leg on the person's skeleton, because there's times in the day when I'm going, right. Yeah. And then but I can also lie on the table, have them put the leg up next to me and say, what do you see? So that they can associate. Yeah. So that they're part of this experiment. Yeah. There's nothing that I do here that I don't do with my clients. Yeah. I consider everybody to be a student. Yeah. Now, I know that you're ready to become Feldenkrais practitioners. I don't mean it to be a challenge, but it really is an investigation. What you'll receive in the training will be the question of how do I learn to investigate? It won't be enough. Right. Yeah, it'll just be a foundation. What does a 5th degree black belt of awareness through movement look like? Yeah. She's a 6th degree black belt in Aikido. Where's Ruth? Yeah. So when you go to a dojo and you watch a person move from brown belt to first kyu to black belt, there's an order of magnitude of difference. When you watch a person have their black belt test and then you watch a secondary black belt test, there's an order of magnitude of difference. The same is true in all of the grades, that between them is an order of magnitude of difference in the ability for the person to be embodied, efficient, and proficient. Yeah? Their skill base continues to be refined at a level that you can see distinctly. 4th degree and 6th degree are not the same. Yeah? Now, we don't have that particular way of thinking in the Feldenkrais method. We graduate from a training, but we don't have a way in which we continue to advance ourselves, other than these little workshops. So the question is now, if there's, how will you continue to take this investigation? Because the question again is, how do I know when I see someone and I touch that whether they come here and they fall on themselves, or whether they stand and their leg comes up and into them? I know that because I know that. And if they're having trouble, when they can do that, then they're going to be much easier for them to be here and to be here than they are, because they've created the tone in their whole system to lift between their shoulder blades. So now this lift between my shoulder blades is coming from the ground. I have a completely different sense of myself. But if I go here, and then I go here, and then I go here, and then I go here, which is the way that she just crawled just a moment ago, yeah, which is fine, but we can almost guarantee that the moment that you go there is the shearing force that may be the back pain, maybe the neck pain, maybe the source of the injury to your knee and your ankle, or it may be that the injury that you had that you never recovered from makes it so that you never have found again how to make the movement clearly through yourself. Yeah. I hate to be in this place. It seems like everything's. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Just everything is.
I've identified 2 sources of confusion in this process for myself.
Yeah, please.
Which is, one is that I do have a moment of confusion when I'm turning the femoral head, whether yes. I'm going to go up and through me, or whether I'm going to turn it this way to do it, right. or this way to do it.
Yes.
I have a confusion about which way I'm going to go.
Absolutely. Come here. Just come and lie on the floor for a moment. Yeah, you.
And there's another source of.
Yeah, she's totally confused, and so because if you watch the turn face up that way. And so it depends on where you watch in the part of the movement. If she's here, lift this, and start to drive forward. Now, it's very easy to think that you're going to drive the person up.
Mm.
Yeah? It's very easy at this point in time to think, I'm going to drive her up with that. Yeah? She's coming away, but you see, is there an input from here with this staying here to change the tone in her spine there? There's not, is there? So even though my intention, I think, oh, I saw the movement. There's a point in the movement when her leg turns medially. Yes? That must be the point. Where in the movement are we talking about? if we start this movement from here, and she's going to initiate the movement that it's going to take and go up and through her. Now you see, what is it? You have to wonder for her, why is it that she takes this movement and she keeps her head there?
Yeah,
that she didn't get
difference.
yes.
It's about which way.
Absolutely. Makes all the difference in the world in the way that it creates the tone through the entire spinal chain, everything. Yeah.
The other source of confusion is that habitually, so this was the leg in which I go up and through.
Yes.
And this is the leg that I turn around. Habitually, I trust this leg,
yes.
not this one.
Yeah.
And it seems to, to get up, and that seems to me to be strange. Like I was expecting, that I would be
right.
getting up and through myself on this leg, and
right.
this leg would be the one that was folding me over. But I mean, that's just the complexity of us human beings.
It is, and then but when we really studied the person and asked them specific reasons for what they do. So if you wanted to do a pirouette, come and stand up for a moment, and you were going to just. But you were going to step and then turn around yourself on your toe. Good. Okay. Yeah. So she goes on her left leg. Yeah.
Oh, that's much better. But I would like to,
right.
blindly trust my left leg.
Yes, but there's reasons for it, because maybe you have a sense that it's safer to be settled in yourself. Right? As opposed to the instability of being higher. Because it does require, and our greatest survival is instability, which goes against everything that we know. We want to be grounded. No. But our greatest capacity for movement is when we're the least stable. Then can we be comfortable in the sense that we have the capacity to be unstable and have that to be a freedom of movement, rather than the sense of how I know myself, the way I. And so when we investigate how people perceive themselves and what is really meaningful to them, and the way that they'll hang on to something, yeah, or dear life, even if it's ruining their life. They'll hold on to it. And if you see a little perturbation in the system that challenges a little bit, what'll come back almost invariably will be a defensiveness. A defending of the place in themselves that's hurting them. Oftentimes, not always. Sometimes people will go, oh, wow, oh. Yeah? All right. So, is there something else with this explanation that makes more sense? Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay. Go have lunch. You need to have her with the leg goosing you.